I be like, sheesh, sunset on the beach. Make me wanna pull up on Miami with the heat. I don't know about you, but I know about me.
Welcome back to the Anytime Sports Podcast Show. Week 11 just wrapped up, and we're here to recap some of the games in Week 11, Andrew. Let's just jump in right into it. As Bears fans, this game, towards the end of it, was looking very promising. Although we did give up a touchdown late, we had a chance to drive down the field, something we haven't done in a while, and win the game off of a field goal or a touchdown. Caleb Williams has the drive of the century, gets us down there in the field goal range. 46-yard field goal. Those just bother me as a Bears fan. If you remember in 2018 when that double doink happened in the playoff game against the Eagles, that was a 46-yard field goal. 46 yards to win this week in Soldiers Field against Green Bay, a team that you haven't beaten in a while, a rival. Kick is up, and it's blocked. Andrew, devastating. What are your thoughts, immediate reactions after the game, and how long did it take you to get over how mad you were?
As a Bears fan, when you see something like that, if it was a different team, it'd be the end of the world. As a Bears fan, not surprised. Eberflus, there's always something that goes back to Eberflus. It was his play calling, the final drive. 40 seconds left on the clock, one timeout. What does he do? Sits there, lets it drain, then kick the field goal. Cairo is 70%, 76 or something, beyond 40, 45. He's like almost perfect in front of 45. And as Eberflus, if you get that play, if you get him closer, he doesn't need to kick it more of a line drive. He can kick it more up and get it over the line. And maybe that's the reason why he didn't kick it over the guy that blocked it, because he wasn't able to get that arch more. And that comes down to the play calling. You can run the ball, then spike it, and then save your timeout. You can use your timeout. You have more time to run a play. That's the thing. And he does terrible play calling. And it always comes down to coaching. And it, like you were saying, losing like this, especially that you haven't beat the Packers in 11 games, is insane. And with this young team, this is what they needed to get back on track after that Commanders game, and it just continues. The losses continue to pile on. The bad losses continue to pile on. I'm gonna take the opposite stance, although I do agree with you that clock management at the end was very, very bad in that situation. I also want to say that there was so much clock left. They could have ran another play, but I get why they did it. Yeah. They were in field goal range. Cairo Santos could have made that. So it just gets blocked. It's very unfortunate. There should have been a call on the center and got absolutely destroyed on that field goal. You're not supposed to blow up the center like that. Ends up getting blocked, not called. You win and you lose with the refs. That is what it is. Gosh, a lot of. We'll talk about it later. We have some. How do you fix these teams? We'll have a segment coming up. We got a couple teams we're going to talk about. One of them is Chicago, so I don't want to get too much into the coaching side of things. Yeah. But man, as a Bears fan, this really stunk, and I don't know where you go from there. I'm proud of the effort from the guys, though. Yeah, they could have rolled over, and they didn't. I was just gonna say, against a Packers team that's proven to be a tough team, I don't know if it's this Packers team coming off a bye week, but they made them look like crap.
It was off of a bye, like you said, Andrew. That's like a perfect. Yeah. The Bears had every excuse why they weren't going to win this game. They came off of a terrible loss. They've been off of some very bad losses recently, and you're at home against a team that's owned you for years and years, and they're coming off of a bye. They could have had every excuse in the world. But they didn't. They came out there. They played well. They honestly looked like the better team during halfway through this game. Andrew, are the Bears just cursed?
I have to say at this point, because this was one of the most. If the Bears would have won this game, this would have been one of my favorite Bears games I watched after the struggles we've been through. Because this last drive, you saw Caleb was cooking to Rome. You got DJ Moore involved. You got Cole Kmet involved a little bit. You got Keenan Allen involved. DeAndre Swift had 71 rushing yards. Caleb had 70 on the ground, 230 in the air. Roschon had a touchdown. Every single piece on the offense got involved. And what happens when that happens? And when the defense plays acceptable, you win games. Should this have been a win? Yeah, should the Bears have had more touchdowns to show for the yards and the way they've been playing? Yeah. And was the play calling and the firing of Waldron a result of that? Yeah. Thomas Brown obviously looked way better of a play caller than Shane Waldron. And I like that. And I'm excited for this Vikings week because I feel like if the Bears are going to continue what they did last week, they have a more better chance than they would have a couple of weeks ago with Waldron.
What's extremely disappointing is with a young quarterback, you don't throw the ball more to your talented tight end. Cole Kmet is such a talented tight end. Don't use him properly. They don't use him at all, really. He should be more implemented into this offense. I like the way they ran the ball this past weekend, so hopefully keep that up with DeAndre Swift. You got to keep running the ball with a young quarterback. Do what Caleb likes to do. Get the ball out quick. Gain some confidence back. We saw some confidence came back in this one, but definitely the life got sucked out of them after that heartbreaker of a field goal. Speaking of life sucked out of you, how about Jacksonville losing to Detroit this week? Detroit ends up winning this game 52-6. There is no mercy rule at all during this game. And the Jaguars will be one of the teams we talk about later as how do we fix this team. But let's start off with Detroit. Andrew, your thoughts on Detroit?
Yeah, I like that segue into the segment. But the Lions scored on every single drive they had this game, which is insane. They scored a touchdown on every single drive up until 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, which is insane. 52-6. That was a scoregami too. But
yeah, it never happened before.
This is what you think would happen. Usually it doesn't. Say I bet you the Chiefs and the Panthers, the best and worst team arguably in the league, it's going to be a lot closer than people think. This is how a team, when the best team in the league plays the worst team in the league, this is how it should look. This is how the blowout should look. Jags, how is Doug Peterson still employed? Their drives, field goal, punt, field goal, punt, interception, downs, punt. Like, absolutely atrocious offense. I get it. You don't have Trevor Lawrence. You have Mac Jones, but he's Mac Jones. He's not like it's Brennan Doyle or Boyle. Or
I don't
whatever.
think I've seen a worse rushing stat than 12 carries for 27 yards for Travis Etienne and an average of 2.3 yards per carry. That is absolutely horrendous. I know Scooby. He's talking to me. He's like, yeah, that was horrendous. But absolutely dominant fashion for the Detroit Lions. Didn't have to do much in this one, to be honest, but still, guys went off. Amon-Ra St. Brown went off with 11 receptions, 161, 2 TDs. Jameson Williams coming off the suspension, 4 receptions, 124 yards. He got back to form. Keynote in this one, Sam Laporta did not play due to an injury. They're maybe going to get him back this week. We don't know. But do they really need him as much? No, just get healthy because this team is still rolling even without him as they go to Indianapolis next weekend. Andrew, is Detroit the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now?
I would say they are because people are tired of seeing the Chiefs. They're tired of seeing the Niners. And I guarantee you the views will be up if the Lions make the Super Bowl this year because everyone's childhood, at least ours, Lions are bad. They're bad. Everybody knows them as bad. When Stafford was there, arguably their best quarterback ever, bad. They had a decent year, but nothing like this year. And their schedule going forward, Indy, Chicago, Green Bay, those are all winnable games. Buffalo, that'll be a test. That'll be a game. And then you got Chicago, San Fran, Minnesota. So they have a decently easy schedule because the Bears play like crap. And if they can pull it out, and they're probably Super Bowl favorites right now, if I had to guess, from the NFC. And I could very well see them winning the Super Bowl if they get to it because there's no weak spot on this offense. Great line, 2 great running backs that you can put one in one hand, let the other guy rest. Oh, let this guy be healthy. Two great wide receivers. Well, you got Williams and then St. Brown, and then you got Laporta when he's healthy. And this defense is good too. 2 of the best safeties in the league. And then you just got Darius Smith, and then if Aiden Hutchinson was healthy, imagine that. But yeah, I don't.
My question to you, Andrew, would be, since you do think they're the Super Bowl favorite, how far can Jared Goff take them in this playoffs? We see the NFC is kind of there's not really the guys up there in the NFC. You could argue Matthew Stafford is the guy in the NFC, the most talented quarterback, although he's not playing the best of his ability right now. Jared Goff is statistically having a good year, but we've seen Jared Goff play in a Super Bowl before, and it was very, very bad. My question to you is, and we have seen, I know I'm rambling around the question for a second, but I want to explain. Everything went right for the 49ers in that Super Bowl last year. Everything went right. Brock Purdy played an amazing game, but he wasn't Patrick Mahomes in the big moment. He didn't have that ability to elevate his players as much. Do you think we see a Detroit team make it to the Super Bowl and just not have enough against a high-power quarterback?
Yeah.
Like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I'd even throw in there Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Say those guys do have a bright side, and they do have that talent. I think Jared Goff can compete. I think he's been in this league longer. He's been to the Super Bowl before. He's going to have this experience during the season. But it depends what Jared Goff we get, because the other week he threw like 5 interceptions, something crazy like that.
Yeah, we're a week off of 5 interception game. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of Jared Goff are we going to get when it comes playoff time? That's my big question.
He's kind of like a Jameis Winston on crack. He played really good, even when he plays really bad.
He reminds me of a Eastern Illinois University legend in Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G.
Yeah.
He got him there to a Super Bowl, couldn't get it done because he wasn't anything very, very special. Guys who win Super Bowls are very special. I mean, you could throw out Dan Marino, who was arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, who didn't end up getting a ring. That's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But some of these guys just aren't able to get their team to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You look at years ago, the Bears made it to the Super Bowl off of defense and special teams. Who was their quarterback in the Super Bowl? Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
Rex Grossman. Arguably the worst quarterback performance in the Super Bowl era in NFL history. I mean, he did not have a good game in that game. They lost to Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
You could have everything go right. You could have the defense, the special teams, but if you don't have a quarterback to elevate you past that level, are you really going to win it? Because you're going to need everything to go right in that game for you to win it. The 49ers did everything right last year.
Yeah.
The Chiefs didn't play their best game, but Patrick Mahomes showed up when it mattered, and he won them the game. That's my big question with Detroit right now. Let's see come playoff time, can they do it?
I think, yeah.
Can they make it to the Super Bowl? Can they make it to one game where they just got to play lights out?
The only thing I think that won't slow him down is the team around him, because you can hand the ball off. You can have Gibbs get 5, Montgomery get 5. You have St. Brown open downfield. You have all these options in a defense to back you out. But that's the thing. If Jared Goff plays like crap, then that's where questions start to arise. And I think maybe they play a team like the Eagles in the playoffs. Maybe they play a team like the Packers in the playoffs or Commanders. Those games could be interesting.
It definitely could be interesting, Andrew. And let's move on to another game. Detroit's playing this team this weekend in Week 12. Let's go to Indianapolis, New York Jets. Anthony Richardson gets the start in this one, and he ends up leading the Indianapolis Colts to a victory in this one. And it looks like the Jets are on fire right now. We'll mention it later. Joe Douglas gets fired. We'll mention the outlook for the Jets team. But what does it mean for Indianapolis to get this win and to get their young quarterback having some decent stat line?
Yeah, this is a move in the right direction. You're on the road against a struggling Jets team. You capitalize off this when you can. You put your young quarterback in. He gets the win, builds his momentum. He didn't play terrible. 20 for 30, 272 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor had 57 yards, and Josh Downs had the touchdown for the Colts. This is what you want to see out of your team, because you're not completely out of it yet. Because you got the Houston in front of you, but you're in the AFC, and there's a lot of teams competing. If you're gonna want to compete, you got to compete now. But as for the Jets, like Colin was saying earlier, we'll get into it later. But it's an absolute dumpster fire there right now. You have Aaron Rodgers burning the plates to the ground. Oh, he just came off of this is basically his first full season playing for the team, and it's Aaron Rodgers' franchise now.
Rodgers is a shell of himself right now.
Yeah.
He can't push the ball downfield. He's doing dink and dunk passes. That's why his stat line looks pretty decent. He doesn't throw for over 200 yards in this one. Shows you he dinked and dunked the ball a lot. Breece Hall got 7 receptions for 43 yards. So it shows you how much he was dumping down to the running back as well. I mean, this Jets team just doesn't look good, and we thought it was gonna look good at the beginning of this season. Everything just has gone not the Jets way, and it's just classic Jets fashion. On the other side of the ball, Anthony Richardson, it's good to see him getting something going. 20 of 30 for 272. I think we mentioned that before, and he had a touchdown in this one. A lot better, a lot more accurate than we have seen in the past, and he didn't throw an interception in this one. Wasn't the reason why they lost the game, and they're celebrating in the locker room. There's a video of them celebrating in the locker room with their QB1. Obviously, Anthony Richardson's got a brighter future than Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's kind of washed, if we're going to be honest. He had like 2 more games left in him after his run in Cleveland, and he already used them in Indianapolis earlier on in the season. They got some talented guys, and they got some good guys on the defensive side of the ball. If they could just get consistent quarterback play from Anthony Richardson, this division is still wide open. I mean, Indianapolis is only second, 2 games behind Houston, and if you look at Houston's schedule, I think Houston could drop 2 games, and if Indianapolis picks up those 2 games, we could see something interesting. Yeah, I mean, the Houston plays the Chiefs and Ravens later on in the season. We could definitely see 2 losses from Houston. And if we look at Indianapolis' schedule, of course, they're going to have to play the Lions this week. But the rest of their schedule looks pretty winnable. I mean, the Patriots, Broncos. Broncos is a little bit different. That might be a hard game. Titans, Giants, and Jaguars. So obviously they can definitely make a push to win the division and make the playoffs. All depends on Anthony Richardson and how he plays. I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well because he's a young quarterback that kind of had a hiccup. And I've never heard a quarterback say, I need a break. I need to come off the field. He learned from that, and hopefully he's maturing as a quarterback and a young NFL player. But yeah, I like Anthony Richardson a lot from a talent perspective. He just needs to develop into a pure passer, in my opinion. Yeah, I hope for the best for him, and the Jets are just a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, exactly. It is an interesting situation, and we'll get into that later. But I think another interesting game we should move into is Steelers-Ravens. This was arguably the game of the week. Both teams going into Ravens going into this game 7-3, Steelers going in 7-2. So this is a crucial game for both of them, especially with the conferences, with their division they're in, fighting for that top spot. Both teams will probably make the playoffs anyways. But this is one that you're going to want to fight for if you're going to want to win this division. Because say Pittsburgh drops this and Baltimore wins, Baltimore's sitting at 8-3 and Pittsburgh's sitting at 7-3. So this is for first place. But where do you think the Ravens went wrong in this? Is this just a matter of getting balled out by Russell Wilson, or what do you think?
Lamar cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and he cannot beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is plain and simple. He just is never able to. And I heard this from an analysis, and someone said, the more times that you play Lamar Jackson, the easier it is to defend against him. Mm-hmm. He's kind of not to say one-trick pony, but he likes to use his athleticism. And if you know how to shut that down, like the Pittsburgh Steelers have in the past and how they have in this game, it's very easy to defend against him. And if I were a team, if I were coaching, I would look at what Pittsburgh is able to do and kind of emulate that against Lamar and see if you can get some hiccups from him. In this game, it was very, very close. And it seems like in these close games, they like to pass the ball for some reason. No idea. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the NFL, still at the ripe age of 30-something. 13 carries, 65 yards, and he gets a touchdown. But he only gets 13 carries in a game that's this close?
Yeah.
Yikes. And Pittsburgh was trying to give this game away. It's not like Pittsburgh's offense was amazing. They kind of stunk. To be honest, they didn't do very good. So this was a very defensive game. The offenses on both sides did not get anything going. Pittsburgh has just had Baltimore's numbers in the past few matchups. Justin Tucker leaves 6 points on the board that could have easily gotten Baltimore the win here. But man, this is tough for a Baltimore team that was looking like Lamar's the MVP. We're going to win this division and we're going to go on a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like, I don't know, Andrew, but it just doesn't feel like this team has enough to get to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah, as long as Russell Wilson's here, they're not going to have that top spot because, like you were saying, I don't know if it comes down to play calling or what it is, but you need to get Derrick Henry that ball. No matter what you do, you need to get him that ball because he can make an impact. One breakthrough, one right gap for him, and that's a touchdown right there. And you need to do that if you're going to win. But like you were saying, it always seems like the Ravens can't find a way to win. And it'd be interesting once the season continues and once these playoffs continue because they do have the Eagles coming up, and then they have Houston coming up, and the Chargers. So say they drop those 3 games, and you have Steelers again. Yeah, you have the Chargers, Philadelphia, Giants, Steelers, Texans. So if they're going to drop some of these games, they're going to kill their momentum into the playoffs because they got a well put together team, especially with Henry on the Ravens. But if the Steelers are playing the way they are, that's going to be rough. But yeah, I want to ask you, how deep of a playoff run do you think the Steelers can make? Because obviously Russell Wilson isn't his Super Bowl caliber as what he was when he was with the Seahawks, but he's a lot better than what he was on the Broncos.
Yeah, he's playing better than he is in Denver. I was going to say that. Coach of the year is definitely Mike Tomlin after this week. What he was able to do against a team that we all thought was definitely a surefire or might be one of the top 2 teams in the AFC. Pittsburgh is only going to go as far as Russell Wilson's going to take him. What I mean by that, this offense has never been great. But if you could get some really good performances at the right time and get hot, anything could happen. Just make the dance and see what happens. If you're Pittsburgh, you want to keep winning all these games because you want playoff games in Pittsburgh, because playoff games in Pittsburgh automatically give you a 3 to 6 point advantage, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because the cold, the environments, it's just very good for Pittsburgh to play in something like that. I don't know. I don't see them as a Super Bowl team. I got to see more from Russ if we're going to say they're a Super Bowl team. But they're definitely a playoff threat. But I think that offense just needs to be a bit better. And then we could talk about them as a playoff team. But let's move to an NFC matchup. In Seattle ends up beating San Francisco 49ers in this one, which means the San Francisco 49ers are 5-5 after an appearance in the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on that?
Not only are the 49ers 5-5, Seattle is 5-5. Los Angeles is 5-5. Arizona is 6-4. You win a game, you lose a game, you're gonna go up and down in these standings. And especially with Arizona playing the way they are and Kyler Murray playing like he's straight out of Oklahoma, Arizona could very well take this division. And San Fran is at the bottom right now with the point differential, which is crazy. And they do have CMC back. He's obviously not to the caliber he was because he was so banged up. But at the same time, it's like this team is nowhere near where they were in the past. And who knows what that comes down to? Is that the running game? Is it because Christian McCaffrey's out for so long? You got everyone in. The only guy you were missing this game is George Kittle, and he's a little banged up for this week too. But for the Seahawks, this is what you want to see. Geno Smith 25 for 32, 221 and an interception. Kenneth Walker 54 and a touchdown. JSN 110 yards. And I want to ask you, what do you think it is with this Niners team? Why did they go from a Super Bowl team to being like what they are right now?
I think it's Shanahan's inability to adapt his offense to win. And what I mean by that is he really has never changed his offense in the past few years. Times have caught up with him. His offense still works, but not as effective as it used to be. And definitely having some injuries hurts, but every team has their injuries, so you can't really use that as an excuse. To some extent you can, but not really to the full extent.
Yeah.
Andy Reid has done a great job with Kansas City of adapting his offense for the modern day age right now. He's gone through so many adaptations of his offense. They used to throw the ball downfield almost every single play, and they used to get crazy receptions. Well, now there's 2 high safeties up there in cover 2. It's more of a dink and dunk pass game, and Andy Reid is leading the league and calling play calls for running. So he's focused more on running the ball right now. So I think the league's making a shift to running the ball more than they have in the past. So you need a running back like that, like they have. And Christian McCaffrey, they could have used him a little bit more. But I think Shanahan's inability to kind of adapt his offense a little more. I don't know. I mean, this team's older. This offensive line's not very good.
Yeah.
This team's just getting older, and they hit their peak last year. They didn't end up winning it. This just might be a team we see that we're just saying they were good, but they played in the Kansas City Chief era of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Yeah.
This is a team just not going to get a Super Bowl because of it. I want to focus on the other side of the ball. Jackson Smith and Jigba, second week, 2 weeks in a row, one after the bye, having an amazing game. Jackson Smith and Jigba comes back. They get DK Metcalf back, but he, of course, might be still dealing with some injury, so they didn't really ramp him up as much. Kenneth Walker, 14 carries for 54 yards. Certainly you would like to see that more, but I'm sure it will happen in the future. Seattle just needs a little bit better offensive line play, and I consider them to be a real threat. But right now, I don't think they're a threat in the West. I think if there's 2 teams right now peaking at the right time in the West, it's got to be the Rams and it's got to be Arizona. We'll talk about them when we pick games. But I think those teams are the one peaking in the West right now. Let's go to the next game. Let's go to Sunday night. I think it was Sunday Night Football. Cincinnati at LA Chargers. Chargers end up not doing the Charger thing and blowing a lead, but they end up winning this one. Jim Harbaugh finally gets them to win a close game like this. Chargers win 34-27. They're 7-3 right now. After last year having a very, very tough season, they're looking very good right now, and I wish everyone had someone like John Harbaugh loves Justin Herbert, because I don't know if you've seen some of his clips.
Yeah.
But he loves his quarterback. He's like, oh, I love this guy. This guy's great. Yeah. Man, I wish everyone in the world had somebody like a hype man like John Harbaugh, because he has been hyping up Justin Herbert in the greatest ways. And, I mean, you just got to feel for Joe Burrow in this one. He throws like an amazing game. I think he's the only quarterback to throw for 356 yards, 3 TDs, and still end up losing the game in overtime. Justin Herbert played good in this game. I really like the Chargers. Lad McConkey had himself a game, 6 receptions, 126 yards. He had an amazing game. T. Higgins had a good game, 9 receptions, 148 yards and a touchdown. This was a good Sunday Night Football game. They had the Cincinnati come back, but was just short, and that's just been the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Andrew, what are your thoughts on the Bengals and the Chargers?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that the Bears have had some rough moments, but one of the ones of all time has got to be not getting Jim Harbaugh. Look what he's done to the Chargers. They lost like a lot of guys this offseason. And
that you blame on Ryan Poles.
yes, exactly.
You blame Ryan Poles because he said Matt Eberflus is the guy that's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. They had a chance to move on from him last year. He had a chance to hire his own guy, and he stuck with the guns, and he said, Eberflus is my guy.
Yep. I guarantee.
That's a fireable offense. I'm sure he will be fired this offseason. I will almost guarantee it.
I guarantee you that Jim Harbaugh would have taken the Bears job. Perfect situation. Rookie quarterback. You can build this team from the ground up. You're going
Former
to your
Chicago
team.
Bears player. Restore. Was there during when they were really good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he would have definitely taken the job in Chicago. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it's his chance to rebuild a franchise. And if you win a Super Bowl in Chicago, you're a legend. As you know, people who win championships in Chicago, they make tons and tons of money in Chicago off of endorsements and stuff like that.
Yeah. But not to get too stirred away.
So frustrating.
Yeah, not to get too stirred away from it, but yeah, that is very, very frustrating. But not to get too stirred away from it. J.K. Dobbins, 2 touchdowns in this game. I think he's the top runner for comeback player of the year. He tore every single ligament in his body that he could in his time with the Ravens, and look at him now. He's the running back. He's the guy on this team, and the fact that he's able to do this, he didn't have too great of a game here, but this season, he's been putting together a great year based on how many injuries he's had, and he's got 2 touchdowns in this game, like I said. And Justin Herbert, yeah, this team is gonna be a dark horse playoff team, and I'm calling it now, but. It's like we were saying, it's just so frustrating that you don't pick up a guy like Harbaugh.
Dark horse. I love the Chargers right now. I love absolutely what they are doing. If you look at some of their losses, they've only been really, really close losses. Besides, you'd say maybe the Steelers in Week 3, they lose by 10. That was very early in the Harbaugh era. They lose to the Chiefs because you can argue that Herbert was hurt during that game. Cardinals, that was a tough loss. I mean, both teams didn't play as great, but the Cardinals definitely played a little bit better in that one. But they've had some good wins over the stretch. They play the Ravens this week. If they're able to win this game against the Ravens, they're for real. I mean, their 2 hardest games they probably have, and the next ones is probably the Ravens and the Chiefs. You could argue the Broncos. And a couple weeks after that, they're the hardest. But, man, I love this Chargers team. I love what all they stand for. I think they're firing on all cylinders right now, and they're going to be a dangerous playoff team. But talking about Cincinnati, it's a lost season. To think that Joe Burrow might lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns, not get an MVP, and not be in the playoff appearance is just absolutely insane, in my opinion. It all starts at the GM position. Not addressing the defense this offseason. You lose a couple guys on that secondary. Don't replace them as well. This defense looks like a shell of itself right now. It's not playing good at all. And that's the reason why you're in this situation right now, why you are 4-7. They need to be near perfect if they want to win and make the playoffs. They need to win out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and that's kind of hard because that means you have to beat the Steelers twice, and you got to beat a team like the Broncos. The other teams you could kind of beat, the Cowboys, Titans, Browns. You could beat those teams, but you got to play still one of your division rivals and the Steelers. So you're not very confident in that. Maybe you could get one of the 2 games, but I don't think you'll get both of them. But they need to be near perfect to end the season.
Yeah, literally. I think let's turn it towards this other franchise that's
the Battle of Texas.
Yeah, in the falling metal Jerry World. And
hey, don't be talking about Jerry World like that. Don't be dissing Jerry World. You can get
Jerry World
assist letter.
That
Jerry's gonna sue you.
Jake Paul has more wins in Jerry World this year than the Cowboys do. Cowboys
that was low blow.
Absolutely atrocious. Some of Cooper Rush's throws this game. Oh my goodness. He looks terrible.
Talking about he balled out. Don't look at the interception. Don't look at anything. He was 32-55 for 354. Just look at 354. That's all you need to see.
Yeah.
And you think he played phenomenal in this one.
Nope.
I think one of the worst play calls during this game was at the first drive when you get stopped, 4th down and something, and you go for a fake punt on your own side of the field. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just ridiculous. Luckily, the Texans didn't turn that into something really, really that much, but this game could have got ugly real fast, but Houston kind of did Houston things. They haven't really had a good second half offense. They finally scored a touchdown in the second half in this one. But yeah, Houston just, to me, they don't look like a playoff team. They look like a good team, but they're not a playoff team. They're really not.
No.
I mean, they can make a playoff, and I think they're a play. Let me rephrase it. They're a playoff team. I don't think they'll do much in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think so. They don't got the offensive line, really. They don't got the offensive line. They're getting so many penalties. And they can't do it in the second half. They can't pull off games in the second half, to be honest. They're just holding onto a lead every single time in the second half. I really don't like this Houston team, if I'm going to be honest, winning a Super Bowl this year. I think it's very much a building stone year. They're going to need a couple guys if I'm going to really take them seriously as Super Bowl contenders. Dallas, on the other hand, we'll get into them when we're like how to fix teams. That'll be our next segment. But yeah, I mean, Houston gets a win. They needed this win, definitely. But Dallas, don't be dissing Jerry World. Jerry will come after you.
All right. Well, yeah, like you were saying, I don't think the Texans, they have a big schedule coming up, but I think that there's definitely some games that they're going to need to win to prove they're contenders, like the Kansas City and Baltimore in back-to-back weeks. They have Tennessee, Jacksonville, Miami, and then Tennessee again. So they're going to have some easy games. But considering how high power this AFC is, I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs. And like you were saying, this is going to be a transformation year. But I think
talking about Dallas, we'll go into our next segment. Is how are we going to fix these teams? I know it's not a plain answer, and there's plenty of ways to go around this. Yeah. But you are the GM of the Dallas Cowboys. What are you doing right now?
Fire.
Not
everyone.
Right now. This offseason.
Fire
this
everyone.
Offseason.
Get rid of McCarthy. He can't win. He can't win at all. Dak, you signed Dak, so you gotta keep him. He didn't have that great of a year when he was healthy. CD, you just signed him. You gotta keep him. You have Jerry World. Like you said, Jerry World is not going anywhere. But they got a tough schedule. They got Washington, and then they got New York and Cincinnati and Carolina, so that's easier. And then you have Tampa, Philadelphia, Washington. They have 5 losses in a row right now. You're not going back from that, and you're at bottom. You're almost, if the Giants win a game, you're going to be bottom of the division above the Giants, and that can't happen based on the season that they've had. And there's always been something holding them back. They've been like, "Oh, this is our year." No, it's not. Almost make the playoffs. No, it's not. We're going to lose. Oh, lose. Okay, it's just always back to square one. And this year, obviously raises some eyebrows. Their only wins are against the Giants, Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh. This has got to raise some eyebrows for some people, and I want to ask you the same question. What do you think would happen?
If I'm Dallas, what do? I keep losing games. I am visibly losing all the games I can. And I'm getting every NFL team to laugh as you're losing games until I realized, oh, wait, I have the first pick in the NFL draft now.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. Who do I dial? Hey, Shador, want to come play for us? Shador Sanders, drafted to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
What's your second phone call? Hey, Dion, want to come coach the Cowboys?
Yep.
Dion to the Cowboys, coaching his son.
He's going to go.
This isn't like LeBron and Bronny, something like that, where Bronny's not as good. Shador's the real deal. He is the real deal.
Yeah.
And I think, just imagining that happen, it would sell so many tickets, get so many eyes in Dallas.
Yeah.
I think he could coach. I think Dion can coach. He says he doesn't want to coach the NFL, but
offer.
Hey,
Money
what talks?
Yeah.
What talks? Money talks.
And what I want to bounce off that question. if they do get Shador, what do you do with Dak? Do you trade Dak? Do you let him sit behind Dak for a couple of
Yes,
years?
you trade Dak. He has a no trade clause.
Yeah.
Could be waived. We've seen players in the past waive their no trade clauses. As soon as you draft Shador, Dak is not going to want to stay.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to trade Dak, and there will be a market for Dak. He would get traded away. Probably, you think of a team that needs somebody. You think the Jets, right?
Yeah.
The Jets would be one of the teams that definitely would call and see. You would definitely. It'd be interesting. They just paid the guy, but Jacksonville might be a team that could be interesting. They just paid a guy, really, though. But
yeah.
I
think
don't know.
Jets.
The Jets would make the most logical sense, you would think, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm Dallas, that's how I go about this offseason. You need to address the offensive line. You need to address the running back position aggressively. Draft a guy or pay a guy in free agency. I don't care. You need one of the two. You need to help this defense a little bit more because it hasn't been very good. You still got to pay Micah Parsons, so that's going to take some money up.
Yeah.
So I don't know really. There's not a quick fix in Dallas, and I think Jerry wants a quick fix because of his age. He still wants to win one more title to prove he can win one more title. But yeah, it's kind of hard. I think the problem is Jerry, but I don't think he'll give up the control because that's just not Jerry Jones. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. We talked about Dallas. Let's move on to another team that is near and dear to both of our hearts, and the Chicago Bears.
Unfortunately.
If you are the GM of the Chicago Bears, what do? What is your first hiring move?
Resign. Oh my gosh, Ryan Poles. Your first hiring move is a new head coach. Get Eberflus the hell out of Chicago. Get him a first-way flight out of Midway.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
He's a great coach,
No,
right?
he's
Weren't
not.
you saying a couple of weeks ago he was a pretty good coach?
Imagine what would have.
I've been on the Matt Eberflus is not a good coach trade since he's been hired. I said this is a terrible hire. Why are we giving this guy?
What would you have done?
He's a good defense. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's a good coach. He is not a good head coach.
What would you? Yeah. Think of the position the Bears would have been in. Getting rid of Getsy, then you get your rookie quarterback in, you get Keenan Allen, you get DeAndre Swift, you get Odunze, you get all these young guys.
Talk about a terrible head coaching class. In that head coaching class, Dennis Allen was hired in that one.
Yeah.
So was Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
So there's some pretty terrible coaches that were hired in 2022.
You get this young team in with the Bears, and all these guys, these younger guys returning like Gordon and Brisker. And all this talent to show out, and you're getting a new offensive coordinator, and you're getting a new defensive coordinator. You're basically restarting your offense. And if you're Ryan Poles, why do you hire Eberflus back? Terrible.
Was Brisker drafted? Can you look this up real quick? Was
Yeah.
Brisker drafted in 23 or was he drafted in 22?
He was 23. He was the same year as Gordon. I believe so.
That was the offseason that Poles was hired, correct?
I believe so.
So technically he was a Poles pick, but I almost guarantee that he was not a Poles pick because Poles hadn't been in that position for a very long time to make that call.
Yeah.
That Brisker was going to be the guy. Mainly a guy in that position is kind of relying on his senior scouts. So can you really say it was Poles who drafted a guy like Brisker?
He was 22.
Was he the guy? I mean,
yeah.
Very interesting call to draft Rome Odunze when you traded for Keenan Allen. You have DJ Moore. You just handed him a bag. You draft Rome Odunze. You don't trade up a little bit and get a guy like Joe Alt, who is now in the Chargers, and be a franchise offensive lineman. You've known since you've taken over this team that the offensive line has been a problem. What have you done? You have done absolutely nothing for this team on the offensive side of the ball. That is amazing. You got blessed with the number 1 pick and you picked Caleb Williams. Hopefully that's the right decision. Hopefully it doesn't come and bite you in the butt. But you need to help him develop and the coaching staff was very obvious that this coaching staff was not going to do good. They didn't do good with Justin Fields. So why keeping a coach like Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach, when you're getting a new rookie quarterback and not hiring a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, who reports, I think we said it a couple weeks ago, but if I haven't now, reports are coming out that Eberflus interviewed Kingsbury, but he was intimidated by Kingsbury.
Yeah.
So he didn't hire him. He hired Shane Waldron.
Yeah, and Shane Waldron...
That just screams
yeah.
weakness.
Waldron was absolutely terrible in his time here. And not to mention the beginning of Poles' career with the Bears. Who did he draft in with his third-round pick? None other than Velus Jones Jr. With your third-round pick.
You love Velus Jones. You talk about him coming out of that was a terrible draft pick. Velus Jones is gonna be the next superstar. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
he was gonna be. We gotta go back into the files and bring up that clip again because that was insane. Velus Jones.
The fact that Matt Eberflus still has a job, and I love what Thomas Brown did. And I'll ask you this question.
You can't get much worse than Shane Waldron. Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty easy to just get in there and just not call, like, stupid plays.
Say the Bears get to the offseason. You get rid of Ryan Poles. You get rid of Matt Eberflus. Say Thomas Brown has a decent rest of the year. Do you rehire him? Do you hire him as an offensive coordinator? Do you hire him as a head coach? Or... Because I saw an article today that he has head coach. He's a head coaching candidate for teams that pick him up after this year.
Gosh, no, no, don't do it. He's not head coach material right now.
They're thinking.
He needs a couple years as an actual offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
he hasn't done it that much. He is not the guy you need. We're looking at this right now, a week off of Shane Waldron getting fired. He gets put in this position, and they have a decent game. Not a great game on offense, but a decent game on offense. Come on, guys. Let's back it up a little bit. Back it up.
Yeah, but I think that you hire a coach, hire a guy like Ben Johnson. You hire a different guy.
He's not going to want to come to Chicago.
Exactly.
He already said he's going to be very selective. Reports come out that he's going to be very selective on the teams he wants to go to or an organization he wants to go to. And the Bears have proven time and time again that they are dysfunctional. So you don't attract a guy like a Ben Johnson.
Then who?
It's very hard.
Who do you think would come in then? Who do you think that the Bears should take in? Obviously, they would have to hire a new offensive coordinator, new head coach, and then new general manager.
Here, I'm searching up a couple guys right now that I think. I mean, I'm blanking. No. How about a guy who is the current offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles? This guy has been in the coaching cycle for a couple years now. I think it's time the Bears hire someone like Kellen Moore.
Mm-hmm.
He was the offensive coordinator in the Cowboys for 2018 through that high-powered offense. He was at the Chargers last year. He's now with Philadelphia this year. So you could argue he has got some good offensive mind. You could say him as an option. I really like Cliff Kingsbury just because of the Caleb connections. Yeah. I think if he gets Caleb playing well, at least he can hire somebody on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's more easier that way. Who do you hire on the defensive side of the ball? I'm giving Vic Fangio a call and saying, "Hey, Vrabel? Fangio, do you wanna? Vrabel would be interesting." I don't know if I'd like him as a head coach because he's a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah,
and he would still need to find an offensive coordinator. I think that was part of the problem in Tennessee.
Yeah,
is that they didn't have an offensive coordinator or a quarterback really. They had Tannehill for a couple years that played pretty decent, but I like Vrabel as a head coach. I just don't think the Bears are a good organization that fits well with him.
Yeah.
To me, it just doesn't. It doesn't really fit. And you miss a guy like Harbaugh.
Yeah.
They don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
So when you miss a guy like that, it's pretty hard to say, "Oh, we're gonna find a better guy this offseason." The reports are saying that Matt Nagy is getting some interest at head coaching positions. Would not be surprised if the Bears were calling Matt Nagy right now and saying, "Hey, come back to Chicago." That would not surprise me if the Bears hire Matt Nagy as a head coach. I honestly think he'd be way better than Matt Eberflus. Let's be honest, Matt Nagy didn't have a quarterback.
No.
From what we know with Justin Fields and from what we know with
Mitch Trubisky.
Trubisky, he didn't have a guy that he liked. He liked a pocket passer or more or less a guy that could a little bit run around like Patrick Mahomes. Who's the best fit? Kind of like who plays like Patrick Mahomes? Caleb Williams definitely plays like that. He's not like Patrick Mahomes, but he has a little aspect of his game like that. He could definitely have this offense be playing really, really well right now. Yep. You just need to hire a defensive coordinator, and he'd be perfect. But I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. If the Bears said, we're firing Matt Eberflus, it's Matt Nagy, we're going back to Matt Nagy, I'd be like, okay, I don't hate it, but it's not the best hire.
Yeah, just go away from coaches named Matt. We'll just do that. But
no, it's got to be another Matt. Who's the next Matt? I gotta look. Who's the next Matt?
No GM's named Ryan either.
No, unless it's me.
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'll do the position for like $300K a year. That's a bargain for what these GMs are probably getting. Yeah, get me in there.
Yeah,
my assistant Andrew.
Yeah,
my vice assistant Andrew.
Assistant GM. Yeah.
I got this guy from Eastern Illinois. He's going to be the next.
Here we go. Oh my
all gosh. The picks coming from Eastern. What are they doing? The Bears drafted all these Eastern Illinois players? This is insane. That's an FBS team that isn't very good. They're drafting all these guys from Eastern?
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah. That would be a story. Now that would be a story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking up who's the dirtiest player in the NCAA. I'm drafting him, and he's going to be my middle linebacker.
There you go.
He's going to be my new Dick Buckus or something like that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Scooby.
Yeah, the Bears are definitely in shambles. They need a reset. They needed McCaskey's new ownership. They need him gone. They need everything reset.
Think about new ownership. Let's talk about Jacksonville.
Oh, my God.
And Mr. Khan there. The reports, I watched an interview today with Doug Peterson, and some reporter said, the owner said to him that this is the most talented team that he's had.
Yeah.
And Doug Peterson was like, ooh, he said that? Like, yikes.
Yeah, it's like
something needs to change in Jacksonville because it just seems so dysfunctional, and I think they're able to get away with it because they're in Jacksonville. Nobody really talks about them that much. You could get away with having a couple bad games, but it just seems like Doug Peterson just doesn't have this team moving, and it seems like Trevor Lawrence has regressed so much. This once promising prospect from Clemson, this once talented quarterback that was said to be the next Andrew Luck.
Yep.
And we don't throw around those references lightly. A guy who looked like he was a surefire NFL great quarterback is now faltering.
Yeah.
What are you doing if you are the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars? What is the first thing you're doing?
Get rid of Doug Peterson. Teams are killed by coaching. Like, Trevor Lawrence is a talented quarterback. I will say that. But this year is just not working. He's got the talent with him. He's got the guys around him. You just drafted Brian Thomas. You got Tank Bigsby, ETN. You got solid defense. They have the talent to be a competitive team. But the AFC, with the way it is, even if they were good, and with Houston and Indy in their division, I don't think that they would have competed anyways. You're only as so good as your talent gets, but I think Trevor Lawrence is good, but maybe he's not the guy.
We'll trade you Matt Eberflus for a 7th-round pick. Yeah. I think you should take that deal if you're Jacksonville. He'll be your next head coach for the next 20 years.
Do it. Yeah, it's an interesting situation there, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do right now. he handed it back to Gabe Davis, but everyone could have known that Gabe Davis wasn't that great. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's rough. It's rough if you're in Jacksonville right now. You need to hire somebody like, I mean, I would love to see Ben Johnson down there just to see if he could revive the career of Trevor Lawrence. Because I love Trevor Lawrence so much. I think he's a good quarterback. I think it's just, I don't know, the situation. He's never been put in a great situation. You feel for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the whole problem is on Doug Peterson. I think there's some stuff behind the scenes, especially with the owner. It's just like there's some stories coming out that's very, very bad. But yeah. Speaking of another owner that has kind of overstepped his boundary, news came out today that Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, said that he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after the brutal Week 4 loss. And the coaches talked him out of it. And those coaches and those GMs are now fired as Joe Douglas is out as the GM for the Jets. What are your thoughts?
You're giving too much trust in a guy that sucks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not a good player. He's washed. He's old. He's going to retire after this year. He's going to be gone. They're not going to re-sign him. And then you just gave up. You're just lost. You're fired, Saleh. You fired your GM. You brought in Devontae for Aaron Rodgers. You have Alan Lazard for Rodgers. You built the team around Rodgers, and what happens when Rodgers is gone? You're back to square one. You're rehiring these guys. You got to get a quarterback. Who are you gonna do here? There's so many it's just all up in the air there, and there's really not much you can do. And it was just the owner's role. Firing them, but you're putting too much trust in a guy like Rodgers, and it sucks, but it's fun to see him fall. The downfall.
Is
of
Rodgers tradable?
No, I don't think so.
There's not a market for him.
No.
So you're just gonna have to eat that money next year if you're gonna want to cut him and move on.
Yeah.
And it's not like this quarterback class is good besides Shedeur Sanders. The rest of it's very mediocre.
Yeah, Carson Beck's mediocre. Who else is the guy from Miami? I forget his name. He's mediocre.
So there's not really great guys out there in the quarterback market this year. You're kind of screwed for the next couple years if you're the Jets. You banked everything on this Rodgers thing, and it doesn't end up going well. So I don't know. It's going to be hard to convince guys like Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner to stay around for this. They hit a free agent, they're just going to be like, no, I'm gone, dude.
Yeah.
You've proven you can't do anything here. Can't have anything good here. So we're just going to go to a contender, and that's going to happen.
That's his name, Cam Ward. That's the Miami quarterback. But, yeah, there's really not much you can do here because, like you were saying, this is a very limited quarterback draft class. Like this past year, we saw a lot of quarterbacks. We saw J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix. All these guys come in and lead their teams, and this was a good quarterback class. Next year could be up in the air, but yeah, it's a very tough situation for the Jets, and
It is a very tough situation. Any other notable news that you want to just talk about real quick, and then we'll go into rapid fire picking games.
I don't believe there's any specifically.
Mike Evans trending to return to the game against the Giants. That should be a much needed welcome for the Buccaneers in that aspect. Isaiah Pacheco is limited in practice. We'll see if he ends up playing. I don't think he'll play this week. But just worth noting that question. Let's go into Week 12 and let's pick the games as Thursday Night Football. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. You said famously in last episode that I picked Cleveland.
You did. You told me that.
That is a bunch of baloney.
You told me that.
Baloney. Baloney. Give me Pittsburgh in that game in Cleveland on Thursday Night Football Prime Video. Who do you have in that game?
That's going to be the Steelers.
Oh, you're not going to pick Cleveland, but you're going to let me pick Cleveland?
Yeah, you told me, though. You told me that you wanted Cleveland. So.
If you're the Browns right now, how do you win this game?
You don't. You don't.
You're just giving up?
Yeah,
You're giving up? The dog pound can't shift momentum into their favor and win this game at all?
No.
You heard it here first. What do you want to bet on it? That you have to run 4 miles if the Cleveland Browns end up winning this game.
Okay.
Well, what are we putting on it? 4 miles. Okay, you have to run 4 miles if Cleveland ends up winning this game on Thursday night.
Okay.
Okay. I'll do it for another game. I'll bet another. We'll see.
Okay.
There's
You do it for
there's
this-
one that.
You do it for this next game, Bears Vikings.
No, that's too close. You can't give me Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and then go to Bears, Vikings.
How about Panthers
Too
Chiefs?
much of a closer game.
Panthers Chiefs.
Panthers. Okay, yeah. If Carolina ends up winning that game, I will run 4 miles.
Okay, we'll do that.
I will run 4 miles
If the Steelers
if Carolina wins.
All right.
But let's go to, you were mentioning it, Minnesota, Chicago, Soldiers Field, noon game. Who do you have in this one?
This game is going to be a lot closer than I
Sam
think people
Darnold,
think.
questionable.
Sam Darnold,
Limited in
questionable.
practice. He has a foot
Vikings-
injury. Does that put you any more in taking the Bears?
The Vikings last 3 weeks. Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Before that was LA. They lost. Detroit, they lost. Before that, they won against the Jets. Easy wins. Sam Darnold, questionable. I think that the Bears could win this one if they play the way they did last week, because I like the way that play calling. I like the way that game ended, although it was an unfortunate ending. The Bears play great. And if they play great, I think they can beat the Vikings.
You're picking the Bears.
Yes.
So I'm almost required to pick the Vikings.
Unless you could,
So
you could take the Bears.
I'm not talking myself into picking the Bears.
Okay. Do it.
I'm picking Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm going Chicago. I've seen the way Minnesota's played, and they haven't played very good. They really haven't, and against teams they should be beating up against.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't look good right now. It doesn't look like they're clicking on all cylinders.
They have Sam Darnold as their quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bears in this one. I just think the Bears playing a little better, but I could be completely wrong. They could be completely devastated after that last loss and just absolutely have a stinker. But I don't know. We'll get Chicago in this one. I don't think I've picked Chicago in many games this season, but I'll pick them. Let's go to Detroit at Indianapolis. It's Indianapolis going to get Lucas Oil Stadium rocking. I'm wearing the Colts jersey right now. Are they getting it rocking? And is Anthony Richardson going to throw for 400 yards and rush for 2 TDs and throw 2 TDs in a win against the Detroit Lions?
No, I don't think anyone's slowing down the Lions.
You're taking the Lions in this one.
Yes. Who do you get?
I'm taking Indianapolis in this one.
Okay.
Lions looking good. Coming on. I'm eating my words in this one.
Yeah.
Because Lions look great. I think Indianapolis, the stadium's going to be bumping. I think Anthony Richardson plays himself a good game, uses his rushing ability, and they end up winning this game by 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, you talk yourself into that one.
I really didn't, because I really think Detroit's going to win,
Okay.
but I'm choosing it for the lore. For the
Okay.
lore, I'm choosing it.
I'll ask you this next one: Patriots Dolphins. Very.
Dolphins.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go opposite of you, Patriots, because this could be either way. Bucks Giants.
No, it can go either way. Miami Patriots. You think it could go either way?
I don't know.
How Miami's playing?
Yeah.
Past 2 games, 23-15, 34-19. You think this could go either way?
We can see.
I don't know. I think you're kind of losing it for there. You're kind of losing it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Miami in that one.
Let's go to Bucks Giants. Tommy DeVito getting the start. Starting over Drew Lock and Daniel Jones. Tommy DeVito played pretty great last year.
Tommy DeVito.
And just for that reason, I'm going to take the Giants. I think he's going to play good. Daniel Jones is going to be the problem. Malik Neighbors, Tommy DeVito, that's the future in Green Bay, or not, New York.
Come on. Give me the mozzarella.
Yeah.
Come on. No.
No.
No. Frankly, no. Tampa Bay is going to win this game. They got Mike Evans might come back. Kate On's playing pretty good. Baker Mayfield, you forget he's playing amazing right now.
Yeah.
Still, they're just coming up short in some of these games. Tyrone Tracy's a very good running back for New York. If they're going to win, it's going to be off of him.
These two games next two will probably be pretty easy. We got Commanders, Cowboys. I'm taking Commanders.
Yeah, I'm taking the Commanders this one. I really don't see the Cowboys putting up anything, really. And Chiefs, Panthers.
Yep, Chiefs.
Panthers. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Okay.
The Panthers have 23% chance of winning the game. Yikes. That's no faith in the Panthers in this one.
Titans, Texans. Who you got here?
Give me Texans.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
not picking the Titans. Titans are
You can't.
not really good right now.
All right. Broncos and Raiders. Raiders are
Broncos.
Yeah.
Broncos. I know we've been talking about the Broncos kind of a little bit. Bo Nix playing very, very good football. Had a career game last week. Had an amazing game. If I could check the score, let me check his stats real quick.
Bo Nix.
They won 38-6. He threw for 28-33 for 370 yards and 4 TDs. He had an amazing game.
Yeah.
I'm picking Denver.
Yeah, Bo Nix is having a good year. He's 2,275 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So he's playing pretty good. Yeah, I would agree with you on the Broncos. Let's move.
San Francisco, Green Bay.
This is an interesting
San
one,
Francisco has always had the number on Green Bay, but is this year that Green Bay is going to finally beat their juggernaut?
I don't know. I'm going to pick Niners here just for one reason, because I think Green Bay looked terrible. And my Packers fans' friends said Jordan Love looked terrible, and he was overpaid, and he looked terrible this last game. Meanwhile, they're sitting there 7-3. But I think the 49ers are going to win this one.
I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. I think 49ers, Purdy's questionable. I know, Scooby, I know. 49ers, Purdy's questionable. I'm definitely going to take Green Bay in this one. I think Green Bay will win it at home. They'll finally beat the 49ers in this one.
Next one is pretty close. This could go either way. We got Cardinals and Seahawks. I know I'm going to pick the Cardinals. I think that they're hotter as of what it is right now.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Cardinals as well. I think coming off of a bye, they could look very, very good. I like the way Kyler Murray is playing in this one. And I'm going to pick the Cardinals.
Yeah, moving on to the next one, Eagles-Rams. Rams have been heating up as of recently, but the Eagles are also pretty good. So I'm going to take the Eagles in this one.
I'm going to take the Rams in this one. They're at SoFi Stadium.
Okay.
I think this game will be good. I think Matthew Stafford balls out. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have a good game.
Also at SoFi Stadium, Ravens and Chargers on Monday night, arguably the game of the week. Ravens are 7-4, Chargers are 7-3. Who you got in this one?
I got my boys in the Chargers. I'm riding with them. I like the Chargers, like how they're playing. Ravens coming out. I think Steelers showed a great blueprint on how to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and I think Los Angeles uses that this week and gets a win.
Yeah, I would agree with you here, and this is very devastating for fantasy football people because we got Falcons, Bills, Bengals on a bye week of those Jamar Chase owners, those Josh Allen owners, those Amari Cooper owners, Bijan Robinson owners, Kirk Cousins. A lot of players on bye weeks this week, and 6 teams on bye weeks this week. So this should be an interesting week of football. Some games that could be a toss-up. Some games that maybe decide the future of the franchises. We will have to see. And we'll see possibly what the Jets and the Jaguars do in the offseason with firings, because the Jets already fired today. But the Jaguars, see if Doug Peterson's still employed. So there's a lot up in the air this week, but we will have to see, and we'll have that information right here on ASP.
All right, I think it's been an episode of the Anytime Sports Podcast Show. If you did like it, please leave a like, subscribe if you're wanting to. If you don't want to, it's okay. I get it. Yeah. It's all right. But we'll see you guys next week for a recap of Week 12.
Yes, we will. All right. See you.
Yeah, sun shining, 24/7 clouds floating. Wait, is this heaven? Didn't even die to get here, yeah. Looking for the top is so clear, yeah. Everything I need is right here, yeah. Everything I know, need diamonds to be